Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel and welcome to this week's GT Sport Daily Race C Race and Strategy Guide. Week 45 sees us head to Autopolis International Racing Course and we are in the Group 2 machinery. Now this combination I reckon is probably the most numerous Daily Race C combo since I've been playing the game back around about March, April 2018, although it does feel like a while since it has actually came around on the rotation. But the detailed settings for this week's race are 12 laps. We've got tyre wear at ×5, fuel at ×2, soft and medium tyres available, both of which should be mandatory. BOP is on, damage is off, it's a rolling start and slipstream is real. Now this combination, I must say, holds a little bit of a special place in my heart in Gran Turismo Sport because way back when I started playing the game in around about March or April of 2018, this was actually the very first Daily Race C that I actually did, all the way back then. And so when it comes round, I know it's not a massively popular combination because it's a very tight and twisty circuit and it's a little bit bland on the scenery, Autopolis it must be said, but yeah, I remember playing it way back 3 years ago and certainly haven't looked back then. I reckon it's probably one of the reasons why Group 2 is probably my favourite category in the game, just because it's my very first Daily Race C and what's not to love about the Group 2 cars. But let's move on to the strategy because that's what you're here for, not for me reminiscing about GT Sport memories. We're going to first off take a look at the soft and the medium strategy. We've got the crossover lap time there of a 1:37.6. So what we mean by that is when we start on the soft tyres, I've done some practice laps on the medium tyres, I've got a kind of rough idea what kind of lap time I can do on those medium tyres. And once we kind of get to that kind of target lap time on our soft tyres, we know it's then time to move on to the other compound because we will be quicker on that. So essentially the crossover lap time is when fresh mediums will be quicker than worn softs. So 1:37.6 is the target. Into the last corner we come to complete that opening lap. Now Autopolis is always very slippy on the opening lap, so do be aware of that, but we are in the soft or the medium tyre, so it's not as much of a problem as it can be in something like Group 3 or Group 4 on the hard tyres. So moving forward here to lap number 8, and you can see up until lap number 7 we have managed to sort of keep below that target lap time, kicking off in the 36s and then sort of moving towards the 37s by lap number 4 there, back into the 36s for lap 5, but you can definitely feel the degradation start to kick in around about lap 7. Now we've possibly left this one lap too late, but we're now going to come into the pits. Do be very careful on the pit lane entry here. We will look at it a little bit closer, but Autopolis does like to claim some souls when it comes to the old pit stops. Very, very tricky entrance and easy to end up in the wall. As I said, we shall take a wee closer look at that just a bit later on. So into the pits we come. You can see the car does not take a massive time to get into the box, and when it's all said and done you'll lose around about 17.5 seconds on the track, all the way down to the 50-metre board. Now do be careful as you exit the pits. Cars that are coming down the start-finish straight will be carrying considerably more speed into turn number 1, so do be careful of that and try not to get in the way. Fuel, of course, no issue, and nothing further really needs to be said on the fuel. So how were we looking when we got onto these medium tyres? Did we kind of guesstimate the target lap time correctly? Well, it actually looks like we're maybe a couple of tenths out. So straight into the low 37 on the medium tyres, which is actually quicker than our last 2 laps on the soft tyres. So it looks like that kind of target lap time should have been a little bit lower, and maybe the kind of optimal lap time to pit is actually at lap 7. If you can hold on with the tyres and you're kind of quite happy in the clean there, then maybe go moving on to lap 8. And if you're particularly bad on the tyres, then possibly lap 6 is going to be more of a kind of optimal lap for you. But pit window looks around about lap 6 to 8 from what we're seeing here. 19 minutes 47.7, so slightly longer Daily Race C than we've had in the last couple of weeks. Now I must confess we ran out of time to actually do the reverse strategy, but we will talk about the medium soft strategy a little bit later on in the video when we kind of reiterate all the information, because we can kind of gauge how it should work from what we've already done. But before we do that, I do want to kind of point out a couple of troubling spots in this one. Turn 1 is a good overtaking chance, but do watch the camber. If you try to go around the outside of someone, it's very easy for the car on the inside to then understeer into you and put you off the track if they're not very careful. You've got to have a good bit of trust in the other driver. We've got the turn 7 hairpin here. Again, an overtaking opportunity if you can get a good run out of the preceding corner, turn 6, but do be cautious on the exit because it goes off camber, the car goes light, it's very easy to light up the rear tyres and spin off into the wall. Turn at number 8, just after the hairpin, is probably the trickiest corner on the course. It's downhill, it's fast, it sweeps off to the right hand side. If you happen to find yourself on the outside of a car going into this corner, then my advice is to give it up, because 9 times out of 10 you are going to end up in that gravel. And finally, we did talk about the pit stop earlier on. Be super careful on the entrance to the pits. If you carry too much speed in, one of two things is going to happen. One, you're not going to make the corner and you're going to end up in that blue barrier, which will then mean you get reset. Or two, the car behind you doesn't brake in time, they rear-end you, you end up in that blue barrier and you get reset to the track again. So my advice regarding the pit stop is do practice it in the time trial mode. You can make pit stops in time trial mode, very well worth practicing just so you don't make a fool of yourself in the race. And also, when you're looking to pit, make sure you are happy with what is behind you at the time, because I've seen both of what we've kind of talked about there end people's races in quite disastrous fashions. But let's move on to that part of the video where we kind of reiterate all the information we have picked up on, and we'll talk about the strategies and the pros and cons of each one. So first up, we've got the soft medium strategy. Best used if you're starting near the front so you're not getting held up in traffic. Autopolis, notoriously difficult to overtake on, tight and twisty. So if you're going to use those soft tyres towards the mid or the rear of the pack, you're just going to be compromising your lap time because you're going to be losing so much time in traffic. So if you're going to start in the softs, make sure you're near the front where you can actually use their full potential. Looks around about 6 to 8 laps the soft tyres will last depending on your driving style and car. And there's really not much more to be said about the soft medium strategy. The medium soft strategy probably going to be used by more people, particularly if you're starting in the midfield or the rear. Now, I think the kind of maximum amount of laps you want to be doing on the medium tyres before moving on to the softs is 5, but every single lap over kind of 2 or 3 you do, you're going to be kind of risking getting undercut by more and more drivers. A lot of drivers will go for that early pit stop. You may even see people pitting on lap number 1 just to get that massive undercut, get the track position, and then just use the track and the dirty air to then hold on to that position. They will be absolutely dying on tyres at the end, but the nature of this track and these cars means that they have more chance to do that than some other combinations. Optimal is looking around about lap 3. That's obviously where you're going to get the best kind of finishing time. 3 laps in the mediums, 9 laps on the soft tyres, maybe 4-8 actually, probably for most people. But yeah, the further you go in those mediums, the more you're going to get undercut, the more drivers are going to undercut you, and the further and more trouble you're going to end up in with cars in front of you who are going to gain track position. So you're going to have to, if you're going to start in the mediums, you're going to have to just sacrifice being slow towards the end of the race to gain that track position. That would be my advice for starting on the mediums. Okay then, let's finish up with a little bit of a track guide. In the Honda NSX, down towards turn number 1 we come. The orange barrier on the left hand side is your friend. Turn 1 is off camber as we mentioned earlier, so try and get the car nice and tucked in to that curb, or you will understeer and compromise yourself on this short straight. Path on the left hand side just after the orange marker is your friend for turn number 2, and as we come into turn 3 and 4 here, just keep the car nice and tight to the curb as much as you can, and you're looking for the end of the curb on the right hand side as your braking point for this hairpin. Down into turn number 1, careful on the throttle as these cars have a lot of torque to put through. You'll see people spin out there a few times over the course of the week. As we come out the very fast left-hander there, we come down towards another overtaking zone. It's the second of the arrow boards on the right hand side is your braking marker for the hairpin here. We've ran a little bit wide. Careful on the throttle because a crest of a hill there. The car is light, not very well balanced, easy to spin out. The 50 metre board down into this super fast left-hander, very easy to run wide there. Do exhibit some caution because you don't have a small accident into that corner. And then swim into the final sector of Autopolis. It's just all about getting your lines right, getting your speed right, not kind of trying to force the issue too much. You kind of start to go offline on one corner, you just start to go offline on every corner. Into the last corner we come now. Keep it nice and tight to the curb. You're looking for the little path on the right hand side. That gives you a kind of decent signal that you can get on the throttle. But yeah, be very careful. Throughout this track, to be perfectly honest, yeah, a tricky track, a great challenge to be honest with you in these cars, but a fairly fun looking combination given the kind of settings with the tyres and the pit stop. Should be good fun. I'm quite looking forward to this one. Hopefully this guide has been useful in some way, shape or form. If it has been, leave a like, leave me a wee comment down below and I shall reply to you in due course. But thank you very much for watching if you've made it to this point. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye now.